Thank you for joining us for Done on Linux, where we will discuss and show the many things that you can do on Linux today. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at sound events and how to get them working in Xubuntu. So this is my little list of instructions here on the screen. We're going to go through these 9 steps and show you how this is done. So first thing we need to do is give some credit. Okay, this information came from this ubuntuforums.org thread here. I'll leave, this will all be in the show notes. And thanks a lot to the author Taz for these instructions. Some modifications were made in these instructions below because this was posted in 2015. A few things have changed, so I've made some modifications to these instructions so that they would work properly on my installation of Xubuntu and on a generic installation of Xubuntu. So we'll go ahead and start. The first thing we need to do is, number one, we need to get some required packages. So packages are basically software installation files. So we need to just get those files, get them installed on the system. And the easiest way to do that, believe it or not, is via a command line. So if you're not familiar with the command line in Linux, well, you're going to get a little introduction to that today. The command line in Linux, we get to it by opening up our terminal program, usually called terminal or something similar. And this is it. It's a little command line interface where we can type in commands that we want to run. I'm going to put this off to the side a little bit, but I'm also going to do a trick here. I'm going to right click on the title so that I can choose always on top. So now when I click back over in my view here of my browser, that window will stay on top of the browser so I can still see it. And then just to get back to it, we just click back into it. All right, so what we want to do is, this is the first command we want to start with. Now this is using something called sudo, which is, it gives you permission to do things on your system, to do anything on your system. So it's important that you not run this command if you don't understand what you're running basically on your system. You'll see other videos online, you'll see websites that give instructions on how to install something, and they'll say, yeah, copy this in and paste it. Just be careful and understand, make sure you understand what you're installing, that it's safe, it's coming from a safe site, because if someone tells you, hey, sudo do this via sudo, that means they have root permission. Root means it's got godlike permissions over your system. They can do anything on your system. This command will allow you to change anything, write anything, delete anything on your system. So just be careful using it. Make sure you know that what you're doing is safe to do, and this is safe. So what we're going to be doing is running the sudo command, and then it's this actually, the command we're actually running is apt, but we're doing it under sudo, meaning we're going to run it as root. It's going to ask us for our root password. Apt is the command. We're going to tell apt to install, and we're going to tell it to install this, and it's also going to install this. And that's what this first line is going to do. And this has these modules, these packages are for getting the sound working the way we want it to work on Xubuntu. So we're just pasting in the command here. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and then it wants to make sure that you are authorized to install things on this computer. So you have to enter in your password. Once the password is entered in, you'll see it's doing things. It's going out and getting the file, and then it's going to install the file, and it's done. It comes back to the command prompt here, just sitting there waiting for us for the next command. So that's done. Now the next thing I need to install is this next piece of software. Right click and copy on that, come back over to our terminal window, we'll paste in there, hit enter. Now it didn't ask me for my password this time, and that's because I just entered it previously. Not enough time has passed for it to basically log me out of that usage. So we're still good, we're still in the clear. But it is asking us this time, hey, do you want to continue? Do you want to install this? And it's saying, hey, this is what we're going to be installing. And the suggested packages also, following new packages will be installed. We can just hit enter because capital Y means that's the default. So I hit enter for yes, I do want to install this. And it'll go out and it'll get the files, and then it will install them on the system. It's getting these over the internet, so you do need an internet connection in order to do this. Okay, so that one's installed. Now the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and open and extract the sound theme. This sound theme can be found at this link up here in this forum. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that, which is going to try and download it, and that's fine. I'm just going to say open it. It's called Smooth is the name of the sound theme. I'm going to minimize this for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and extract this. Now, there is a certain place it has to go in for extraction. For now, I'm just going to extract it into downloads, and we'll move it later. Okay, so that's there. The next step is what I just mentioned. We're going to go ahead and copy and move that to the folder under this little tilde here means your home folder. That's default, kind of a shortcut for, if you will, for your home folder. And it wants to go into the .local folder. Remember, dot means it's hidden. So we can't see this normally if we go to our file manager here, just by clicking the home icon. I don't see local in my home directory. Again, remember that this little tilde represents the same thing as /home/ the name of your account, which is your home directory. But there's no .local, right? I don't see it. So we need to click on view and make sure that we are showing hidden files. I know, look, there it is. There's .local, so I can double click. There's .local, and what does it say? Share. I want to go into share, and it wants to go into sounds. Uh-oh, there's no sounds. Well, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and we'll just create it because it hasn't been used yet. But you do need to be mindful in Linux that it is case sensitive. So over here, we notice it says sounds. It's all lowercase, so we have to spell it exactly the same way in order for the system to find it. There we go. So now we can open up sounds, and I'm going to go back and get that file now that we unzipped. I'm going to open up a new tab in my file manager here, and then I can go back to home, and I put it in downloads, and there it is. So I'm going to click and drag right to sounds and drop it in there. So now the sound files are in the right spot. And if you're curious, if we open the sound files, it's got a theming file that it uses, and then it's got the actual files themselves. And these are the files that play when you do various things within the interface. Okay. So next thing we need to do, we need to enable sound events and feedback sounds. So let's see, this has, Mate is a different environment. We are working again in XFCE. So these are the instructions for XFCE that we need to run. And they are terminal commands again. So real easy, we just copy these. Copy, and we come back into our terminal and we paste, and then we hit enter. That's it. No feedback, nothing. It did it. It did its little configuration update. And now we're going to go in and grab this one and do the same thing. Paste that in, hit enter, and we're done. Okay, next we're going to set smooth as the default sound theme. Excuse me. Again, it does say in Mate you can go here and do it, but in XFCE, which is what we're running, we're just going to do it quickly via the command line. Copy, paste, hit enter, and that's done. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is set up the necessary environment variable. We're going to add something to the end of our profile document. Each time you are log into Linux, this profile document is read and looked at. So we're going to go ahead and make a change to that. Again, remember the tilde is just your home folder, which is where I'm at. And by the way, if you want to see where you're at in a command line, you type pwd and it'll tell you what path you're at. So I'm at /home/Dan. That's my home folder, and which is equal to this little tilde thing. Okay. So what we need to find is a file called profile. Now we're going to go ahead and we can jump over to our file manager and do it that way instead of doing it on the terminal, or we can do it in the terminal as well. There's just different ways of doing things. So in here, I go back to my home folder, and I'm looking for a file now. These are folders, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a file that starts with a dot, so it's a hidden file instead of a hidden folder. And there it is right there, .profile. And that's what we're going to go to. So I can right click on that and say, yes, I want to open this with mousepad. It's just a simple little editor. There we go. I'll minimize that again. And these are the two lines that we need to add to the end. So I'm going to right click and just copy those. We need to add those to the end of this .profile in my home directory. So I'm going to go to the very end, and there it is. That's it. It's not a very long file. That's all it is. And we're just going to hit enter, and then I'm going to paste in those two lines. I always like to leave an extra line space at the end. And so I just hit enter again, so we got a blank line. So these are the two lines that we need to enter into here. We're going to go ahead and save this, and then we can close that window. Okay, and that's it. So the next thing we can do is we can make some setting changes to control the restart, the log out, and the login sounds. This is actually done via the session and startup option. So I just clicked on the little whisker menu and I typed SESS to jump to session and startup. It brings up this application. I'm going to go to the application auto start tab. And then here what we can do is we can say we want to add something. I want to add we're going to call it a startup sound, whatever you want to call it. Call it is fine. Startup sound, login sound. Description is optional. And here's the command that we want it to run. Well, this is the command we want to enter so that it will play a sound, the desktop login sound, when I log into the system. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it into here. And what's the trigger? On login. So when I log in, I want you to play this sound up here that's located in this directory. Well, this is the command that actually plays the file. And that I just erased. Let me put it back in. Okay, so this is the command that actually plays the file. And then this is the location again, your home folder, .local shares sounds. Remember where we put sounds? We put that smooth folder in there. It's going to go into the smooth folder, into the stereo subfolder, and it's going to play this desktop login.oga sound or file. And then it'll do that on login. So we'll go ahead and we'll click OK here. Now if I scroll down, we'll see that this is what I just now entered. On login, play my startup sound. So I'm going to hit close here. And there you can add more. You can go back to that same area and you can add restart sounds. You can add logout sounds. And it'll do the same thing. It'll play them on logout or on restart, whatever sound file you point it to. Now the last step I do here before we log out and test this is I want to install one more piece. This piece of software is I found that I need this installed in order to have the clicks on the icons and the right click menus, etc., to also make a little sound for me. So we're going to go back to our terminal, our command line interface. I'm going to paste that command in here. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to go ahead and install it. And just as a tip, it's telling me there are some other packages that are installed that you don't need anymore. So as a way of keeping your system clean, you could run this command they tell you right here in order to clean it up. We won't do that this time. Just thought I'd mention that in case you were curious why this was coming down this way. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and give this a restart and or a log out and see if we get our sounds working. So I'm going to go ahead and log out here. Out. Okay, I'm going to log back in. That's it. Now you've got a nice startup sound. You can hear very subtle click noises as you click on other items and as they open or you maximize and unmaximize. And that's it. Now you've got some little sound feedback on your system you can play with. You can obviously change those sounds that we installed to different sounds if you like and make it your own. Thanks for watching.